This drip all on my body, soaking wet the sunny. Looking like a walking lick, yeah, you can tell I'm grinding. Rolling back was full of loud, I can't hear nobody.
What's up, fuckers?
Fuckers.
Got them.
Episode 29, The Beer Latte Show. I'm Steve.
I'm Nick.
Danielle.
And as always, you guys can find us at thebeerlatteshow.com and The Beer Latte Show on Instagram and Facebook, and Beer Latte on Twitter. And today we have Canadian clinical hypnotherapist and past life regressionist, Chris Lee. Chris, how are you?
Good. Hi, thanks for inviting me on your show, Steven.
Yeah, super excited to have you here. I've never really talked to anybody that can talk to past lives before.
Well, you do the talking to the past lives, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works. That's why I'm super interested.
Well, basically what it is that I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, Steven. I took my training 25 years ago. And what it's about is that when I took my training, it was all current life, standard hypnotherapy thing, and where you deal with the stereotyping of like weight and smoking and confidence. But I found like I wasn't sure about past life. So what I've done for the last 10 years is I've been touring a lot. I go out on the road and line up a number of spots to do my 2-hour talk called Life in the Past Lane. Because what I found is that when people hear hypnotherapist, most people out there have a fear of hypnosis. Have you ever heard of that?
I guess meaning that you're going to make them do something that they don't want to do?
Yeah. And if to use a polite phrase, it's all bullshit. What it is that it's all because of TV and hypnotist for shows and stuff like that. It's for entertainment. And it's good to give an illusion, I guess, for ratings that it looks like somebody's out of control and acting silly and that kind of stuff. Well, that doesn't happen whatsoever. It's again, and I know it's hard to believe, but TV and movies aren't quite as accurate as they could be. And it's just like, for example, you ever heard of that swinging the watch type thing? You ever seen or heard of that?
Yeah, the pendulum or whatever you have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's BS because it's way beyond me how you can slow down and watch a watch swinging when your eyes are closed. Way past my figuring on that one, because what happens is when you close your eyes, you start to slow down and relax because you don't sleep with your eyes open, do you?
Well, no.
No, because you get distracted, and that's all it is. It's just hypnosis. Now, when I do my talk, and I have a crowd, as I've done for a few years now, about 225 times in 6 countries. What I do is I start off with a show of hands who believes in past life. And most of the people do put their hand up. What is your thought on it?
I totally believe in past lives. Do you guys?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what it is then most of the people do put their hand up because that's why they came to my talk. It's been announced as. But I also then give people the choice. Anybody believe or not sure? And a few people put their hand up. Usually it's males because we're more skeptical, aren't we? Yeah.
Usually.
And we like to see to believe sort of thing. And then actually I have had one person put their hand up when they said about not believing. It was actually in Winnipeg. You're in New Jersey?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm in Ontario. You might have heard of it in Canada. Okay.
Yep.
We're on the same time zone. I'm not that far from Detroit too. But so anyhow, what happened is that I have people. It was a big one I was doing in Winnipeg in Manitoba. And this one person put their hand up that they didn't believe. It's sort of funny. So everybody stared at her, but she stood up and said, I've got a good excuse, though, for being here. My daughter believes in past life, and she needed a ride here tonight. Okay. So we let her stay. She actually came up afterwards and said, you know what? It's interesting. You use a lot of logic, and which is what I do use, because logic does help, and I'll explain that in a moment. So I do remind people, though, that my system that I use with past life, if you think you made it up, it doesn't matter. When your ache, pain, my system covers persistent and eliminates persistent aches, pains, fears, phobias, and debilitating emotions. And if you think that you made it up at the end of the session, which is like 1-on-1 only, and it's about 1.5 to 2 hours, and your 4 different concerns you were worried about or wanted to get rid of, they disappear, which they will, but you think you made it up, it doesn't matter. Because if you think it's made it up and it's gone, it doesn't matter. So that's why I say to people, you do not have to believe it. Over half the world does believe in past life, but in North America, it's less than half. Now, when I took my training at the hypnotherapy school, almost every hypnotherapy school doesn't include at all past life because, again, less than half the world or North America believes in it. And just think of the logic. If you're running a school and you want to get lots of students, well, half of them won't come if you mention past life. So that's what it's about. But one more thing I do ask is, show of hands, how many people here have ever been hypnotized? Have you ever been hypnotized?
No.
I don't believe I have.
Okay. Well, when I do have the show of hands, very few people put their hand up. So the ones that don't, I politely say, you guys are fibbing. It's because you don't know what hypnosis is. That is why this fear is in there. Everybody is in hypnosis 5 to 20 times per day. It's just you don't know what hypnosis, or most people don't know what it means. Hypnosis is only deep relaxation. Now, some good examples. Do you guys remember high school at all?
Very well.
A little bit.
Did you ever have boring subjects?
All the time.
Yes. Did you ever daydream during your classes?
Every minute.
Yeah. Daydreaming is hypnosis, deep relaxation. When you're deeply relaxed, it's easier to get to your subconscious memories, and you'll think of a beach that you went to, and next thing you know, you're seeing yourself in the beach sort of thing, and away you go. Another good way of explaining hypnosis is, either of you ever had a situation where you're reading a book or watching a TV movie so intently that you don't hear people talking to you?
Yes.
Well, that's hypnosis, single focus concentration. In the old days, we used to memorize stuff. That's how you memorize easier, is to block everything off and just concentrate on it. And the last thing to prove to people that you have been hypnotized is, show of hands, how many people have slept in the last 24 hours? Well, I think most people put their hand up. And sleep is hypnosis, because hypnosis is only deep relaxation. And how much deeper are you relaxed when you're sleeping? In general. So then I say, who's been hypnotized? So you got to put your hand up. Hypnosis misunderstood. They think it's, like you said, loss of control. What a load of crap. Because this is actually what I do, is to help people. Having you bark like a dog is totally stupid, but you do see hypnotist shows. So the last thing I like to explain, that people get that fear about it, is to do with hypnotist shows. Have either of you ever been to one?
I have not.
No.
But you have seen them or heard of them, haven't you?
Yeah.
If you ever go to a hypnotist show, which a lot of people don't because they're afraid that they're going to get conned to go up there, which is impossible. What it's about is that the hypnotist likes to get lots of people from the audience. He does this by having do a test. You might have seen it or not, but he generally gets you to lock your fingers together, and then he gives you the suggestion that the harder you try to pull them apart, the more they get locked together. Now, the people that he wants to go up on the stage and be his guinea pigs or participants is the people that are called, about 10% of the world are called somnambulistic. Yeah, it took me a year to pronounce that word. It's the type of person that doesn't care. They don't have hang-ups. They don't care what people like. They like having fun. They don't have, they don't feel stupid or anything like that. They're having fun in life. You probably met some of them. It's not very many. They want them up. So they've already got the suggestion in their hands will unlock up or unlock. So he says, come on up on stage and I'll unlock them. He just touches their hand and says, it's done. They're having fun. Then even then, he'll still have to ask you, because it's really permission if you want to stay on the stage. So that's what happens. Now, during the show, it looks like he's in charge, or, because they act silly and stuff like that. Well, what happens is that when he does give you the suggestions of relaxing, which is what I do to help you slow down so you can get better contact with your subconscious memories, what it is that they start acting about the age of 7 or 8 or younger. Now, obviously, it's not hard to act silly if you're feeling like you're 7 or 8 or younger, is it?
No.
No. Now, here's the logic. If you really watch the production, not on TV because the camera just zooms in on him, but if you watch a live show, I've seen it in pubs and stuff too, is that during the evening, he'll slowly send people off. No, not all at once, but that wouldn't be helpful for him. But you'll see him tap his shoulder and say, whisper and get off the stage, sort of thing. Thanks for coming up. Well, what it's about is that if he's in charge and they're all under his control, here's some logic. Why does he send people off?
Because they're not working for him.
Okay, is that kids can get bored. So if they're not sort of bouncing around anymore like the rest of them, then what he does is that has them leave because it wouldn't look good for a show. So therefore, no, there is no loss of control because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. But the TV does make it look different because it's boring if it looked like regular. So what happened is like first a good question. Did somebody force you to daydream?
No.
No. Did you have to lay down? Because I do get people that come in and say, "Oh, where do I lay down?" And I say, "Why? Are you paying me to sleep?" Because when you close your eyes and lay down, what do you generally do? You're going to sleep. Subconscious works on memory or repetition. So, and the reason they do think that is because when I had them sitting in my chair beside me, and when I do the session, they would have thought that they would fall over and land on the floor or whatever because they think that you disappear. There is no la la land, no disappearing. You just like with your daydreaming, you knew where you were. In fact, if the teacher stopped talking, you'd instantly probably quickly look up because remember when there's silence, it looks like you might get a feeling that the teacher caught you at it. All self-control, all self-hypnosis. Nobody forces you to go to sleep or ignore people. So once I've done that, that is why when I have done my talks over the many years, I'm mathematical. I keep records and stats. I worked it out that through the hundreds of over 200 sessions or talks, I'm sorry, 84% of the people book a session at the end of it. Before they came in, almost nobody, unless I've been there before. Some places I've been to 2 or 3 times, so word of mouth, that type of thing. Now, would you say 84% is pretty high?
I think it's very high.
Especially, yes, especially when it's zero. That's because I've explained to them what hypnosis isn't, and from my system, well, I help you get rid of. Now, I don't say the word like you got to, if you got a bruise yesterday, it's not going to get rid of it. That's not past life. But if you got like pains that are persistent, like staying there for a long time, medicines you take don't do a thing. That's called persistent. Aches, pains, fears, phobias, and debilitating emotions. Now, offhand, do you know anybody that might have some of those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like most of the world. So once they know that how I do it, that is why people book sessions. Even men that are a bit skeptical, we're not exempt from all those concerns, are we? In fact, I've worked with 5 male medical doctors and 2 female doctors, and you think they should have been skeptical? No. They know you ever heard of the placebo effect?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sugar pills. They know the power of the mind. And you can't heal yourself. So that's why they come to see me. I cannot do what I do to myself because I have to ask questions. And if I'm asking questions, it means I am not relaxed and I can't get to my stuff. So I usually get some of my graduates. I do teach people and usually get some of them to work on me if I need anything done. So one more thing to remind people very quickly, I remind people I am not a reader. I'm not a past life reader. I don't tell you, hey, Bob or Fred, you used to be a gypsy in a past life. Well, 2 things here. One, I don't know. And second is, what's that going to do for you? Is that going to get rid of your aches and pains? No. You'll probably be able to dance better with castanets or something, or that type of thing. But no, as I'm not a reader. And because you see, I've proven that we are an animal like to see to believe. Being told you're a gypsy, that means, but if you actually saw it in your mind's eye in a session that you were a gypsy, I really was, or whatever concerns you have. So that is what I do. So I do sessions and I cover stuff. Now, do either you guys have any persistent aches, pains, fears, and phobias?
I've been getting headaches. A lot.
there's two types of headaches. There's stress and there's migraines.
I don't know what they are. They're like ice pick headaches.
Oh, okay, that'll be more stress. See, migraines are a very unique type of headache, and there's no cure for them except when I can get rid of them for you. Is because they are all past life. And migraine headaches are generally a 2 to 4 day headache. A lot of times people get them worse if they're sometimes light isn't or daylight is annoying. Or one woman, hers got worse if she smelled chocolate. And what it's about is that it's very, very, it really limits you. You can't do much when you got one. Have you ever heard of people with that?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the things I help get rid of because, again, it's past life. I'm not saying that everything is past life. I've determined from working with thousands of people that it's only about 98% is past life. So that's fairly high, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just about everybody.
Yeah.
Because what it's about is that if you go to a therapist, therapists work on current life because that's what they were taught. And if you got a condition like, say, depression or anxiety or anger or constant worry, panic attacks, that kind of stuff, they will, try and work with you to what did you do earlier in your life that caused this and stuff like that. Well, let's think of the logic. If it's to do with past life, you haven't got a clue because we don't wake up in the morning going, oh, yeah, I did have 16 past lives doing this, this. No, we don't remember these things. Your subconscious and conscious make up your mind, the mind, not left brain, right brain. The conscious part of your mind is only about 5% of your mind. It's a processor, came with the body sort of thing. It's never been to a past life, hasn't got a clue about them. But the conscious likes to have an ego problem. It likes to think it's clever and gets in the way. It likes to guess at things. And it's usually pretty bad at this when dealing with the past life. Your subconscious, guys, is powerful. It is like 95%, obviously, if you do your math, it's 95 roughly. It's a storage unit. It holds, they cannot, there's nothing out there yet, even close to what it can store and process. And if you've had one past life, 100 past lives, 1,000 past lives, which different people have, because apparently now they're still making these soul groups and what we're actually in energy. What it is that it's all in your subconscious. That is what I help you find. There's not, as I said, I don't know what you did, but when you come to see me, after seeing my talk, or if you haven't been to my talk, I do supply a link to watch one of my a video, basically one of my talks. Being as I only have one, so I guess what it is that you make a list of stuff to have worked on, and it's amazing what people come up with. So whatever it is, so what it is in a session, I actually can take care of and eliminate roughly between 2 to 6 different concerns, all in one session. So what happens is, and once you've seen it and eliminated it, it does not come back. Now there is a downside to being 95%. Is basically what I take care of is about 95% of people's concerns. Is you don't get a lot of repeat clients. Okay. You don't have them come in for therapy for the next 3 years and really don't do much for them. And so, but once you've done, eliminated somebody's problems, you better believe that the word of mouth goes out there because most of their friends and relatives know that you've had this pain, whatever it is, and it's gone. Yes, they'll come in. So it covers a lot. What it's all about, guys, is it's to do with body cell memory. Now, they've proven, the AMA, American Medical Association, has proven a few years ago that people with organ transplants are picking up the traits of the person that had that organ. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
But they've proven it, so it's not me. And like one guy hated pizza, now he loves pizza. But it's because our body cells have a memory. Now, what happens is that when you have a pain or something that no matter what medicines and treatment you take doesn't go away, it's to do with a body cell memory from a past life. Now, the body cell memory, okay, I don't know if you're how deep you into this or what you know about the metaphysical, but we don't, we're energy. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Yes. And we come into the human body to learn lessons. Now, we have a soul group and it's not very, they're not very big, but whatever size yours is, it's always been that. And in a session, I can find out for interest how big your group is. What it is you come into the human form to learn lessons. Now, why? I don't know, but it seems to be the way it is. So what happens is we get together with our soul group, energy, and we decide what we're going to learn. And they're just one word, two words like compassion or patience or self-love, little things like that. But for some reason, we have to learn them. Now, we come into the human body to learn because the energy that we are, energy does not feel aches and pains, does it?
I would assume not. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is that we do by being in the body. Now, think of it as putting a computer into a robot. That's roughly what it is. So when we are here, when we work out the lesson that we're supposed to be doing, pardon me, when we come into the human form, apparently we totally forget what it is. Now, I realized from working on this is that the reason that would make sense to do this is because how would you learn if you had the script in your hand? Like if you're in a play and you go over the script, it's that's where acting comes in. You have to pretend that you're learning something. But anyhow, we don't remember. And apparently is that when we don't learn our lessons or finish them, they don't go away. We have a new lesson every time we come in, but lots to still finish. That's the aches and pains and stuff. Actually, one a lady in Australia on her list of stuff to handle or look at, she had typed out 32 items. Some people do have lots of aches and pains and fears and phobias, etc. Now, why we don't learn the lessons is because of simple things, or why we didn't finish the lesson is one of two things really. Is one, you got killed or died too soon or too young, or you really screwed up like you were supposed to be and learn to be somebody like a Mother Teresa and you became Jack the Ripper. I think you screwed up, don't you?
Yeah, it's a slight difference.
Yeah. So what happens is that they don't go away. The body cells carry in the fears and phobias, the aches and pains, as to duplicate what it was when you left, because the subconscious is powerful. It actually controls your immune system too, but it's not there to be meaner than that. It just knows you haven't finished that lesson, so here's the concern of physical that you had, so that we can continue it. No, 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 no. We don't have to. So what I do is by having you go to the past life that's the cause of whatever concern you're working on and see what it's about, it lets go. But you still have to finish that lesson apparently because that's the way it's been. And what happens is at least you don't have to bring in the concerns that get in your way. I cannot find for anybody in a session what their lesson is to be in this life. It just will be blocked. But I have found that they, whoever they are, do like it when I help you get rid of the junk that prevents you from doing your current life lesson. Here's a good example. Let's say that your life lesson, Stephen, was to save a family that live on a mountain, okay? And you come into this life with the strongest fear of heights that you've ever encountered, because that is actually the number one fear. And I think those people up on the mountain are going to be toast, don't you?
Yeah, I guess you're not going to make it there.
Because you're not going up there, because you got a fear of heights. So you're going to have to do it again and again and again. So I think it's time. What it is that when you see what the concerns are and where they came from, let them go. You can continue getting rid of the concerns. Do either of you have any strong fears or phobias?
Uh, I don't know. I don't think about it too much, honestly.
Fears.
I mean, back in high school, I hated doing like getting up in front of the class and doing public speaking. I think everyone's like that though.
A lot of
Public
people.
speaking. Okay,
Now I hide behind a
get
microphone with no video.
Maybe one day. I have 4 books out. I started, the first one is called Life in the Past Lane, sort of a takeoff of Life in the Fast Lane. They're not a how to book because how can you have people learn how to do it from my book when I can't do it to myself? No, it's more case histories. So people can see and read it on their own, like, oh, I didn't know that could be fixed and that can be fixed. So I guess I better go and see them. The only thing is that because I've got thousands of them, I found that the first book didn't really hold enough. It's got 101 cases in there. So I made a series of life in the passing. And the second one is fears and phobias, then life in the passing, aches and pains. And my fourth one, I'm holding it up. I'm sure you can sense it. It's called Crimes Against Humanity. It's also in red. It's a red cover because this is the one. So, and there's two more to come yet. This has also got a little over 100 cases in it, but it's to do with serial killers, Jack the Ripper, World War II atrocities, torture dungeons, witches, and sexual assaults. Not to do with really the gore. Is to show people what happened to us back in the past that's affecting us in the current life. I'll get to that in a bit. But the fears and phobias, I've dealt with 141 fears and phobias so far, and a lot of them are ones of stuff, but take a guess, you guys, you two. What do you think the four most common fears are?
Dark. Fear of the dark.
No, I gave you the first one already.
Well, that was heights.
Yes, number one. Gave you a little hint there. In the talk, I give out virtual cookies for people that give the right answers or laugh at the right time.
I fucking love cookies.
Number one is heights. Number two is claustrophobia.
Oh.
I didn't think about that one.
Number four, I'm jumping over one, is deep water.
Huh. Yeah, I could
A lot
see
of
that.
people don't like deep water. We drowned often in past lives. Hey, when you're a sailor in the middle of the Atlantic and your ship goes down, why bother learning to swim? Because how far are you going to swim? So a lot of the sailors never learn to swim. But sometimes it's also what you don't see in the dark water. Shark. Number three is I left it to the last of the four to explain because it doesn't sound the same. It's called fear of success. Now, it doesn't sound the same, but it's still the same thing. You were killed in a past life or two for being rich or getting powerful. And because they didn't have CSI back then, they got away with that. So your subconscious says, you've got a lesson to finish, but don't get too rich or too powerful because we got killed. So a lot of people I've worked with have done things through like self-sabotage. They're getting too successful and they start making stupid decisions, stuff like that. So that is one of the top. That's the number three fear. Public speaking is in there, but it's way down. I do help people with that. In fact, I do teach public speaking. In fact, I put in little articles in my Facebook too, and I have a page for that too. So anyhow, now, well, lots of fears and phobias. What happened, I have found interesting, is that a lot of people have with fears that have been told to face their fear. Have you ever heard that brilliant advice?
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Yeah, load of crap, BS. Because here's how this works. Let me back up for a moment. I work on cause and effect. Now, have you ever, either one of you in their lifetime, ever had a time where you had some stress?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get a headache from it?
It actually affects my stomach.
Well, the ones that do, which is a fair amount, take a painkiller. Okay, I don't mention brands because they already make too much money. And what does the painkiller do? It numbs the headache, doesn't it? Or pretty well does. But does it get rid of the stress?
Nope.
No. Cause and effect. My system takes care of the cause, so stuff doesn't come back. So being told to face your fears is like, here's another band-aid for your cut because it ain't going to go away. And a good example, I always give examples. A fellow I worked with some years ago, he had one on his list of fear of heights. So I said, the usual question is, how long have you had it? Now, some people, it's interesting, think that if it started, like if they're born, it came in with their life, it came with it. But I get people sometimes, some of the fear and phobias don't start till later in the life. So they figure it has to be current life. No, what happens is that when you do get a fear and phobia, it's often, basically it's a trigger. You've triggered that memory and just it wasn't prominent, but you triggered the memory and that's why it stays. But what happened was he said he was told to face his fears. So I said, well, what did you do? And he leaned over and he said, I went skydiving. Have you guys ever done that?
No.
No, I'm too scared of that.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if I had to, I would, but I got more things to do. I've gone parasailing and stuff, but not quite the same. Anyhow, he did skydiving. So I said, wow, that certainly would be sort of what a face to fear prediction or suggestion. And he said, yeah. I said, did it work? And he sort of looked down at the ground for a moment. He says, I can't still climb ladders. In other words, it didn't go away. Now, in the session, it was about the second item that we went to, and I covered it in 10 minutes. He had no longer has that fear of heights. You can have a respect for heights. Like I have no fear of heights, but I'm not going to like swing. Bungee jumping doesn't appeal to me. Okay, but I mean, if I had to, I would. But the point is that you have, like if you're standing on a mountain on the edge, hang on to it, respect. But some people cannot even look down and without the panicking. In fact, a lot of people with fears and phobias often get can't even talk about them, like especially heights. This one guy I worked with said that he had fear of heights. And even looking at a picture of a mountain would give him sweats and butterflies, and he's never been on a mountain. That's because it triggered the past life where he had been pushed off of a mountain as a native Indian by another one. And once he saw that, why it lets go, I don't know. But I'll give you the reason how this works, because I always make statements and give logical examples. But one of the first things I want to do, first of all, is that when I mentioned earlier that people think that this could be their imagination, I'm sure you've heard of that word, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a profound statement for you guys. There's no such thing as imagination. And when I say that to a crowd, the look on the face is often like, what the hell is he talking about? So my example is, and I want to have you guys and anybody listening and to do this too. Close your eyes for just for a couple minutes here. Close your eyes. You're sitting down, I assume.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. Hard to stand up for a long time with your eyes closed. So your eyes are closed. Take a big deep breath. Slow exhale. That actually is not a cutesy thing. Take a deep breath. No, what it is that it actually forces more oxygen into your bloodstream. that's a good thing, of course. Like you've had that time where you just to go, and you feel better. So anyhow, taking a deep breath. Good. Now, in your mind's eye, I want you guys to see or sense or visualize a lemon, a big, bright, yellow, sour, juicy lemon. Cutting it up and taking a bite of one of those pieces of sour, juicy lemon. Feel that texture, that taste. Now swallow it. And hey, there's lots of lemon. One more piece. So take another piece of that sour, juicy lemon. Now open your eyes. Now, I can't see you, so I have to ask you, did you get a taste or a watering in your mouth at all?
Yes.
I got a watering in my mouth. No taste.
Yeah, mostly the watering is what I'm looking for. Now, here's the thing. In a group of the groups, I mean, about 75% will have a watering reaction. Some of them are making faces at me. I tell people, a lot of you guys are making faces at me. Okay, puckering up. I do get the silly ones like, "Oh, I like lemons." So what? If you like them, it still can make your mouth water. Anybody else that isn't quite sure about the lemon because I use it because it's the common one, but I've had people picture a cake or something in the next, so that wasn't sure and sure left their mouth waters. The point I'm making here, you guys, is that if your mouth watered, it means your body's reacting, correct?
Right.
It's reacting. But wait a minute, there's nothing in your mouth. There's no lemon there. Why is it watering? What are you reacting to?
The memory.
Yeah. Now, what it is memory. You've had one. 100%. I can guarantee you 100% that you cannot have your mouth water if you've never tasted a lemon in your life. It doesn't work. You can't imagine how to make your mouth water. You can't imagine how the taste would be. It does not work. It's impossible. Reacts to a memory. So therefore, imagination isn't there. But again, if you're not sure and the concern goes away, that's okay. So now the next thing is that I work on is, remember I said cause and effect. Here's another word picture for everybody, and you don't have to close your eyes on this one. Picture you're living alone. It's a dark, spooky, windy night. Wind's howling. Middle of the night, there's a crash, and you jump up and go, "What the is that?" So I'm being polite there. You notice that? And then you hear it again and realize it's just the wind blowing a branch against the window. Okay. Now, if you're like me and it's not going to break, I'd go back to sleep. But later that night, there's another crash, and you jump up. It's different and louder, and you go, "What the is that?" And you hear it again. You realize you don't know what the heck that is. And that's when you sort of go a little goofy. Somebody coming to kill me, burger, boogeyman, burglar, stuff like that. And unless we check it out, we resort to our childhood. We pull up our bulletproof covers and try and get some sleep. Doesn't work, still bugging you. So in the morning, you get up, not refreshed, didn't sleep well, and you're going out the door, still windy, and you hear that noise again. It's off to your left, and you quickly look to your left, and you realize it's just a garbage can, metal garbage can. Neighbors always had bags. Funny he didn't tell you he was going to buy whatever. Now, you're going to make a very profound statement, which is it's a garbage can plus adjectives about the stupid neighbor. Okay, almost finished. Next night, dark, spooky, windy night, winds howling again, garbage can blows over. It's a 50-50 chance that you won't even wake up. But if you do, you're going to make your profound statement again, which is
It's a garbage can.
it's the garbage cans again. Yes. And that stupid neighbor. Now, there's a point here for you guys. The noise is the same both nights, correct?
Yes.
Why doesn't it bother you on the second night?
The knowledge of the garbage can. Yeah.
You know what it is. I keep it simple. You know what it is. Now, unless you feel the garbage cans are coming to kill you, you would let it go. But here's the thing. If I had told you it's a garbage can and you weren't sure and you decided, I'm going to peek out the window, and you go, oh, it is a garbage can. That's the thing. Being told really means nothing. We are an animal, as I said earlier, that likes to see to believe. That's how this works. So telling you you're a gypsy, what does that do for you? So that's how it works. So aches, pains, fears, and phobias is and when you come in the session, I help you slow you down. I actually ask you permission. That's how this works. I say to you, may I work with you today? Because I don't walk up to you and make you go and do stuff you don't want to do, because that's 100% impossible. And you can imagine if you did that, I think the police would be interested in knowing what you're doing. Oh, headlines: 4 more banks robbed by hypnotist. He made me give him the money. That doesn't happen. And plus, another little bit of logic: I could teach either one of you how to do hypnosis in a matter of a half an hour, not the therapy part. But if you then could do it, you could have a battle of wits with each other, and so it doesn't work that way. And again, a daydreaming doesn't, and nobody forces you to do that. Anyhow, so when we start off the session, I do ask permission. If you said no, there's nothing I can do. But if you say yes, the subconscious now knows to help you, and then I help you slow down, and then we start going through the stuff on your list.
And then when you're going through the stuff on the list, you're able to, or they're able to see their past lives?
Yes. Okay. One thing is that most of the world are visual. When they close their eyes, they can visualize. They can see a visual. A smaller percentage are what's called more just sensing. But it works either way, because, like, for example, a blind person doesn't have to see you to know you're there. They can hear you, kick you, bite you, or something. So what happens, though, is that just for the two of you, when you had your eyes closed, did you see the lemon or just sense it only?
Both.
I only sensed it?
Yeah. Okay. If somebody is visual, they can usually sense, but if somebody's sense, they don't always visual or be visual. The interesting thing, though, is when I work with a non-visual person, first of all, it doesn't make it, it still works, the whole thing. The reason I have to know at the beginning is then I change my words. If you are not visual, I'm not going to say to you, now what are you seeing, Stephen? And you'll say, I don't see anything. That stops the process. So with non-visual, I'll just say, what are you sensing? Because you don't have to be visual to know, for example, that is seen that the temperature is comfortable, there's a wind, that kind of stuff. But it starts to flow. The interesting thing I have found is that most of the people that aren't visual, by the time they finish a session, go, oh, I saw lots of that. That's because they're not trying to be visual. People that try because they hear all the other friends that can see the trees or something, try harder the next time. Well, the more you think, the more it doesn't work. Now, when I say in a session, what I do is that say it's a pain in your shoulder, and I just simply say to you, let your subconscious take you to the past life. And if they're not sure about past lives, I say to the cause of why you have the concern in your shoulder. I like to use the word concern. I don't give them, call it aches and pains, because you're just giving it a title and subconscious still hears it. Better just call it concern. And within seconds, they'll see it. Now, I don't see anything, as I said, so I ask questions like, are you indoors or outdoors? You know, what kind of a day? How the temperature feel? Is there a breeze? After about the first two of them, I don't even have to do that much because they'll start off, because the more you do it, the quicker it gets. And again, when you see it's a garbage can, that noise isn't going to bother you anymore. It annoys you, okay, you can be annoyed, but it won't cause fear, would it?
No.
So when you see where it came from, then there's a couple other statements I make with you, but you basically you let it go because you still have to finish the lesson. It doesn't go away, but you don't have to bring in the aches and pains and stuff that are debilitating. There's lots of things I cover. Like again, here's a quick, cute one. Ever heard of people with birthmarks?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, birthmarks are actually death marks. They're where you've been stabbed, shot, that type of stuff. I did have a lady one time when she heard me say that, said, "Well, I don't think so because I have a birthmark at the back of my neck, and my two sons have one just like it." Now that does give a little credence to maybe it's hereditary, but I knew I was having a session with this lady, so when we were in there, I said, let's check on your birthmarks. Now, generally, I don't work on birthmarks because usually they're not bothering you. But she said, okay, within a few moments and stuff moving around in the past life, she realized that her and her two sons are from the same soul group. And in a different life, all three were soldiers and got executed with a shot at the back of their neck or head. So, yes, it's not hereditary, just the guys that they'd all been from the same, got it from the same time. There are so many things. I've mentioned migraines. Um, when people do come in, they often have spent, they've had a condition for about 20 years, so they've learned how to pronounce it, their 30-letter word. So when they babble on, they've got such and such, I get that glazed over look and say, what's that in English? Like if you have a back problem, I don't care if it's C6 or C7, who cares? I just need to know whether it's upper, lower, middle, because your subconscious doesn't care. It knows where the pain is, that it's duplicating. So that's when I go to the session. Then once you tell me all that stuff, then when I go to the session, I just give it a name. I'll say, let your subconscious take you back to the concern or cause the concern of your lower back. Actually, that's one of the most common concerns. Have you guys ever had lower back concerns?
Yep.
Yeah, I got back pain
Uh, how long have you had that?
my whole life.
Well, how old are you now?
31.
When I was your age, I was 31. So anyhow, it's not my profoundness again. Profound statement. Now, but so far you've had them. Now, lower back pain is common. In fact, this one guy, when he came in, let me back up for a sec. When the body cell memory duplicates the pain, it tightens up the muscles. But if it's not hurting enough to duplicate that pain, it puts your bones out of joint, mislining. That makes it hurt more. And one of the guys worked with not long ago about his lower back. And I like to work on that first when somebody comes in, because if somebody's got a pain sitting in my chair, they can't relax as quickly or deeply. So I go for that one. And roughly, to make this long story shorter, is that he hadn't finished the lesson, but he got thrown from a horse, because back in the old days, we used horses a lot. And he landed on a rock and broke his back, and it made him that crippled, so he couldn't finish his life lesson. So what happened is that when I said, now you know where it comes from, now move your back. And he said, did you hear that? And I said, yes. It was a big crack as he moved his back. At the end of the session, now if it's an arm or leg, I have you move it while you're sitting there. But if it's your lower back, I don't have you stand up and walk around because you also have headphones on. Now, when he stood up when he finished, he said, "Holy mackerel," or other words stronger. He said, "I haven't stood this straight for 12 years." His back was put out of the joint by the memory cells to make it hurt as much as it did there. Go on. Whatever lesson it was, still have to finish it. But there's a lot of things out there. Now, I don't, the only big words I've ever bothered to learn, one of them is fibromyalgia. You ever heard of that one?
Yes.
Yes. Two of my doctor friends laughed when I described that. And they laughed because what it is they know if they can't prove to you where that ache or pain comes, they call it fibromyalgia so you'll feel better. You won't get it, you won't get fixed from it, but at least you can say, I got this, like rather than I don't know what I got. And that's that confusing feeling in your life. What it is just a body pain, just like it'll be from a past life. One guy had it all over his body. Turned out he had fallen off a mountain and broke every bone in his body. So, in fact, it was a woman. In fact, when she came in to sit down, she sat down. She started cracking, moving around, and cracking her bones. And I said, "Why are you doing that?" She said, "What?" Because a lot of people doing that don't know what they're doing. So they're so used to doing it, and it's very annoying. She said, "Oh, I've always done that." So when she had finished that, falling down the mountain, she no longer had the body pain. Also, she could not make her bones crack. Okay. You ever heard of people cracking their knuckles?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Oh, I was going to say, do you enjoy that? I don't. How about you? Do you like hearing him crack his knuckles?
It doesn't bother me now.
No, you get used to it too. Cracking your knuckles has nothing to do with some of the people that say, well, they're loosening up the joints and it helps. It does not. If it was meant to be, everybody would crack their knuckles. A guy came in one day, and very few people do come in that have nothing. And they say, well, I just want to find out more about it. Every one of those, there's been about 20 out of the thousands it just happened. Every single one of them, within 5 minutes, I'll have about 5 things on a list for me to check on. Because a lot of times people have stuff they don't think is fixable, that they're stuck with it. It's just their way of life. This one guy really got my attention. He was cracking his knuckles. I said, "Why are you doing that?" And he said, "What?" Because a lot of people doing it don't even know. And I told him, he said, "Oh, Bob, like it loosens the joints. Get away." I said, "Let's put that on your list." Because he says it does bother some of his friends and relatives. So I said, put it on your list. What it is that my fourth book, which I mentioned, Crimes Against Humanity, is to do mostly a lot with dungeons too. Dungeons are some of the things that have caused a lot of our concerns. One of them is cracking knuckles, because what was happening to him. One more thing: the guards they used to hire through the centuries as guards are not therapists. They're not counselors. They were nasty. They weren't usually too bright either, but they knew how to torture people, and they did that. So what happened is that they were cutting off one day his fingers because they had nothing else to do. That was the concern. So I said to him, "Now crack your knuckles," and he had a hard time to doing it. And I said, what happened is why the cracking is why you do that. It's your subconscious reminding you that you still had your fingers, but you hadn't finished that lesson. Another lady came in said she had nothing, and she was clearing her throat. You ever have people that go continually? You ever had some of them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that annoying? Yes.
Oh yeah.
So she said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Clearing your throat." She said, "Oh, I just been all my life. It does bother some of my friends." So I said, "Put that on your list." So it turned out she had died in Pompeii. I don't know if you know about history, but that was where the big volcanic thing and the island went down or something. You ever heard of it? Pompeii?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, she had died in there. In fact, the archaeologists are still finding bodies fairly intact. They didn't die from the molten lava. They died from the dust,
Right.
that fine dust. And that's why she had that cough. She left without that cough. She says, and that also helps. She says, my sinuses, and that because sinuses and stuff in your throat and nose are past life. So is allergies. It's almost everything is past life triggers. So anyhow, she got rid of that. Now, fibromyalgia, as I mentioned, I've had about, through the years, probably over 100, 150 people that come in complaining about that. My rate of eliminating it so far is only about 100%. So that's come in. It helps because again, my doctor said, well, it's something they can do. They can't fix it. Same as like the migraines. There were only other word I really bothered to really learn or check on is, and it's not a big word, is arthritis. Ever heard of arthritis?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's generally known as bone joint concerns, and it often affects your fingers and your ankles and wrists, sort of thing. If it's bothering your ankles and wrists, that's usually because of dungeons. Because when they put the chains on you, they didn't come off. They were there till you died, and you generally did die in dungeons back in the old days, because they didn't give you like you got 6 months and we let you out. No, they just forgot about you, and because they didn't feed you well, which also causes irritable bowel syndrome, you usually starve to death. But anyhow, so the chains were there all the time till you die. Now, what happened is that the arthritis. Now, again, wrists and ankles are often from chains. But a lady came in to see me about 3 years ago, and usually I show you how her hands look. But okay, can you look over here? Okay. Anyhow, picture her hands a bit gnarly and like claw, sort of holding like claws, and also with arthritis, which is not hereditary. It is not a disease. It's a condition from past life. Let me explain further. Now, then you see people with arthritis, their knuckles do get like swollen and disfigured and stuff. That's because of just the logic. When the blood flow isn't going through it normally because the bones are being held out of the joint to hurt, it causes that effect. So what happened was it said, we'll put that on your list. Again, dungeons. She saw herself as a female in a dungeon. And what they were doing is the two guards, one was holding her hands to the floor and the other one was smashing her hands with a hammer. They were not nice people to us. And more than likely, almost everybody I've met has been a guard at least once. So it's not like we do get roles. Remember in a movie, unless it's a chick flick, somebody's always going to be the bad guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So anyhow, they smashed your hands. Now I said to her, you saw where it comes from. Remember, like the garbage cans, once you see it, it automatically lets go. I don't have to do, like all kinds of rituals. You just see it. You have to finish the lesson, which we can find what it is, not the current one. So I said, start moving your hands. Now, you guys might have remembered a cereal called Rice Krispies,
Yep.
and the theme was snap, crackle, and pop. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Ah, they're still doing it. Okay. So what happened was I thought I was listening to a Rice Krispie commercial because I said, her eyes are closed, she's sitting there. I said, move your fingers around now. And she started moving them, and it was like crack, snap, pop, because they were going back into position because they're being held out. And about 15, 20 seconds. Now, if you really time that and do that yourself, 20 seconds does take a while. But slowly, after it stopped cracking, and she's moved her fingers around, totally gone. Or close. What it is I always give people a scale 0 to 10. 10 is the way it hurts, 0 is cleared up. What number? Now, your subconscious, which is very accurate, will tell you the number, and it's generally 1 or 2, unless you've got 2 past life affecting it, which does happen occasionally. The point is that it's not usually not 1, except fusion phobias that go to 0. Usually not, but it's usually 1 or 2 in aches and pains, because some of the because your muscle have been held tight for so long, it takes a little bit more to go. But that will go to 0 over the next 2 or 3 days. So what she's been taking is a lot of medicines. It didn't work. Seeing where it comes from. That's how this works. It's a very simple procedure. But think of the logic. Use the garbage can. Once you know it's a garbage can, we let it go.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense now.
Thank you. Uh, Dungeons, let me finish. Dungeons actually cause a lot of our concerns. And generally, we've all been in them at some point through the many hundreds of years and lives. And some of the things it causes is, you ever know anybody that chews their nails?
Yeah.
Who?
Well, I think we all do.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe one of you two.
We do.
Chewing.
I used to. I don't anymore.
Who chews their nails?
Okay, I do.
She does.
It's from a dungeon. Now, here's your logic from it. In dungeons,
Here
do you
goes.
think they fed you like big fancy meals?
Uh,
No, you got crap. And you were always hungry. So people used to start chewing their nails because it's sort of some kind of sustenance to swallow. That's where it comes from. There's a lot of other things. Okay, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, fear of snakes or rats, because usually they had rats in there. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you could eat one. And one of the things that comes from there is libido. You ever heard of a libido?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, first time I heard of it years ago, I thought, is that a car or something? Okay. No, I was not in the know. Libido is sex desire. Here's how it works. When you are a prisoner in dungeons, especially if you're female, you generally got raped almost every day. All the guards, that was their little perk. Now think of some logic. When you get raped and you haven't finished that lesson, sex isn't too exciting because it was just it wasn't your choice. So when you come into the current life, a lot of times because you haven't finished that lesson, it can creep in and start affecting that. So that's one of the many things that comes from. I'm trying to read my list here. Sleep, torture, lots of stuff. Now, emotional concerns. Do you know anybody that's ever had depression, anxiety, suicidal, mood swings, anger, feeling abandoned, constant worry, that stuck feeling? You know anybody that ever has that stuck feeling? Just
Yes.
feel like they can't go anywhere?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you have some stuck lives. When we die, our energy leaves the body. We don't die. We just dump the body and go back to the soul group, plan another one, and go pick up another body. Now, because we can be in more than one body one time, I get that profoundness once in a while. Well, right now, apparently, there's more people alive on Earth at this moment than has been through ever history. How can they all have a energy or soul? It's because we often can be in more than one body at one time, especially in the last 200 years, because we got so many lessons to learn. Anyhow, our energy is so strong that only a small percentage of it is needed to run a body. So when we die, that energy of the body dies, that energy is supposed to go home. And I call the soul group home because when I take you through it in a session, you'll feel like it's home. But what happens is that sometimes, because we have free will, we don't have to leave. Dying can be confusing, disorienting, especially if it's a strong emotion that you have happened. One of them is, am I really dead? Another one is like anger. I didn't finish my lesson. Another one is revenge. I'm going to kill those people that killed me. Or I got to help my family, which is kind of hard to do when you're dead. It's hard to get a job when you're dead. And that type of stuff. And that stuck feeling. What happens is that because they are still stuck there feeling those strong emotions, you feel it because you're part of that same energy. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
But because you don't know it's a garbage can, that that emotion will still keep bothering you. A lady, it sticks out in my mind. She came in. She said, "I've got anger. Life is great, but I'm always angry." I said, "What have you done about that?" She says, "4 years of therapy." Okay. I said, "Is it working?" She says, "No." So I said, "Let's check it out." Sure enough, in the session, your subconscious, which will tell you, tells us that she had something like, I think it was 3 stuck lives. One of them, sure enough, was held with anger. So what we do is I have you in the session take it home, take him or her home. How that works, I don't know. Some people, it'd be like, knock on the door, come on home. No, it's just they go. I say, go and see that person. How did they react seeing you? Most of the time, it's like a surprise or what the hell are you doing here? Then you tell them it's time to go home, which I have them say out loud because things sink in better when you say things out loud rather than just thinking them. And then I say, take that person's hand. And sure enough, they take the hand and then take them home. So you are actually both that energy, both through the same energy. So you head home, and I say, are they happy to see you? Oh yes. In fact, apparently our energies could have a good sense of humor. I often hear people yelling, "Hey, it's about time you got home." Anyhow, the point I'm making is, as she was just taking him home, she started sitting up straighter in my chair. I said, "What's going on?" She says, "I don't feel angry anymore. This feels nice." 10 minutes, she said, and I had 4 years of therapy. What a difference! Because that's something that most people don't know about, but it's easy to do. So that's one of the biggest emotions, though, we do drag with us from life to life, especially on our planet Earth because it's more dense, is guilt. Often it's because we were told that where I'm only beating you up because it's your fault. You shouldn't make me beat. So the kids got guilt, or also the guilt of not finishing that lesson. So do you know anybody? And unfortunately, it's more women that seem to feel guilty about everything when they don't know why. That's where it comes from. The second most common emotion is actually kind of funny. It's doing something stupid or embarrassing, but there are people that just can't take that. So we do have a lot of stuff we bring with us. So, any questions so far?
Have you ever come across somebody that has not had a past life? Is that possible?
No. Somebody could be their first past life, but they wouldn't come and see me because they don't have any problems from the previous past lives, do they?
Well, just out of curiosity. I don't know.
Well, they could, but it doesn't happen. I mean, I've had people with as few as maybe 7 or 8 past lives, and I've had people with over 1,000. But they come in with, like, you're certainly not going to have a stuck life to fix because you haven't had one that you finished with. But no, so it's not going to happen. And no, they're new souls, so it does happen. But when people do sometimes say, "Well, is everybody going to, go into deep relaxation?" And I go, "Well, or can I be hypnotized?" Is what people sometimes say. They still don't listen. And I said, "Can you daydream?" And they go, "Yep, you're okay." The only problems I actually have had a couple of times, here's an interesting sort of a scenario, is people that were on paid leave. What do you call it? They had an injury at work on
Disability?
on what?
Disability?
Yeah, that's a good word. I like that one. They're on disability, getting paid for not working, and they hate their job. So think of the logic. If they get better, they'd have to go back to work. So that's why I do ask some questions ahead of time. And what I've done with them is simply say, let's take care of your concern, but let's use some of your past lives to find out what other job you could do, what other talent you got. Because not just the past lives for getting rid of aches and pains, I can help you use your past lives to improve your talents, or maybe find out why you're good at what you do, how to improve it. Because if you got say an interest that you love playing the piano and you're pretty good at it, it's because you've played in your past lives. But I sometimes will do is take people back to, like, I play guitar and I like Spanish, and I had one of my grads work with me. Sure enough, I was one of those, what do you call them, the five guys that play Spanish stuff. They go from table to table, tip of my tongue. I was one of them. So that's
Oh,
why I like those.
mariachi band?
Yes, there's a good word. See, I like keep the simple stuff like guys with guitars. Okay, but the mariachi band, yes. We do go to Mexico every winter for the last 4 years and feel very comfortable down there. Plus the fact that the winter time, the temperature in Fahrenheit is generally about 80, so it's kind of a nice. Uh, I don't think New Jersey's that warm in the winter, is it?
No, not really.
No.
No. Now we get worse up here.
I was
But
say
mind
you got to
you,
be worse up there.
where I live, we're about the lowest part of Canada because it sort of dips down, and it's sort of funny when if people in Detroit are going to say to us, "How's the weather up there?" We have a laugh because Detroit's actually almost above us because ours swings down underneath it. Because you get used to thinking of states on one south side, like in the prairies and Canada's in the north. Mind you, it's like it doesn't stop there. You ever checked out the weather in North Dakota or Minnesota in the winter? It's just as bad. It doesn't stop at the border and get warm. But it's nice to go down there. It's a little bit right now. We are wondering about doing that because of the restrictions on flying. But it's starting to get better, isn't it?
I would hope so.
Yeah, a little more
I have
lax.
No idea.
Oh, here's one more. Do you have time for one more
Sure.
example? Okay. When I use you're in my office, like I do sessions on Skype, and because I can't get there, but also more lately, now it's picking up. I do have people come to my office, but for a while they couldn't. But what happens is that when you're in my office and you're ready to rock and roll after I find out what we're going to work on, I have you put on a pair of headphones, and it's connected to a little mixer, and I have a little microphone that, from my ear, I don't have to hold it, and I talk into it. Now, even though you're just in front of me, I still prefer doing that for about 3 reasons. One, often there's could be, especially when I travel to different places, sometimes there's traffic or something, so it helps eliminate that a bit. Two is I can put in boring music so that there's no dead airspace and I don't hear it because I don't need to hear it. And the third thing is that sometimes people have poor hearing, so I don't have to yell, I can just turn it up. So this young girl, she's about 35, this is about 3 or 4 years ago, she's ready to go. And I said, I just want to do a sound check because you're the first one of the day, and about the music level. I just like to have it low in the background. So she has the headphones on. She said, "What music?" So I turned it up a bit more. Nothing. So I turned it up loud, louder than I've done for anybody. She says, that's about right. So I said, "You got a problem with hearing, don't you?" She said, how'd you know? What it was, in a past life, she had been too close to a rifle going off, and it had deafened her in that life. So when she saw where it came from, she said, "I know where it comes from, and can you turn the music down?" That's how quick this can work, because the muscles were being in her ears or holding those different thingies in your ears. As soon as they let go, her hearing came back.
That's crazy.
Okay, so anyhow, if anybody wants to, I have books. I have training. You can, if you want to find out more about it, or sessions, catch up to me on my website. It's just being adjusted. It's called pastliferap.com. Past Life Rap, RAP, and that will get you to me. The website's just being redone, so it's still pretty good. And just get hold of me at my email at cl@pastliferap.com and have a chat.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you talking to us and getting enlightening me with everything. It makes a lot of sense now. And as always, you guys can find us at thebirlatteshow.com and the Beer Latte Show on Instagram and Facebook, and Beer Latte on Twitter. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, this drip all on my body, soaking wet the Sani. Looking like a walking lick, yeah, you can tell I'm grinding. Rolling back was full